All right, well, we'll just get into it. So we'll go in order well, the ladies have the order that I sent them, but I'll go ahead and just drop it in the chat once more. And we'll kick it off with Annette. Even though it says you're entering the waiting room.
I think there's a few versions of me. If we can pin me, that'd be great.
Yes, absolutely.
Spotlight or however it works. I think I'm on the face now.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, I'm Annette McClelland. I'm from Tekuma, and we're improving the ways humans interact with technology. Current controllers are overly complex. They're fragile and confusing and actually haven't changed very much in the 80 years since they were invented. Early 2015, my co-founder Michael Griffin was out flying a drone and trying to control the camera at the same time. He found this so difficult, he thought there must be a better way. In speaking to Innovation Manager from New South Wales Australian Police, Leighton Shaw, he found the dual joystick paradigm needs to be challenged. A standard controller is needed. Therefore, what we've developed is a tactile 6 degrees of freedom controller. It's intuitive, universal, and robust. It reduces the time, cost, personnel, and training required to get jobs done.
I'm Michael Griffin. As you can see here, I'm able to control the aircraft entirely with one hand.
One of our first paying customers was Undersea ROV back in 2019. They tried out prototypes of our controllers and then went on to buy control orbs and develop their own controller specifically for underwater rovers with plenty of buttons for their peripherals. This is the best way that we prefer to sell as components so that we can work with manufacturers that can implement our technology and give their users the best customer user-friendly experience. Our current biggest customer is the United States Department of Defense Innovation Unit. And with them, we're developing a universal soldier robotic controller that we've been working on for the past year now and still working on it to make it best for the frontline soldier to be able to control things on air, land, and sea and peripherals. Back to Leighton Shaw from New South Wales Australia Police, he found that the controller, as demonstrated, will enable us to focus on what an ROV can do and not worry about how it does it. In our research, we found the human-machine interface market will grow to $6.5 billion by 2025 from PR Newswire. So this gives us a lot of opportunity for different markets to target on how we can implement our technology into different applications and industries. Things from unmanned remote vehicles in air, land, and sea, construction energy sectors, which are very valued here. There's an emphasis on safety, productivity, and efficiency, as well as being able to control things like cranes, forklifts, rovers, or robotic arms. We've also looked into accessibility and medical robotics. In one of the early days at a Powerhouse Museum STEAM demo day, we had one student roll up in a wheelchair, right arm, hand in a brace. I put our proof of concept in his left hand, and he flew a drone for the first time. Wow, he exclaimed, that's really cool. A kid who'd never been able to play Xbox was flying a drone. And it was in this we determined and we found out that he actually had multiple sclerosis. And by testing with people with multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy, we found we could give people access to controlling devices they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And therefore, we can also be involved in device control, rehabilitation, VR navigation, robotic surgery, these sort of new technologies that can really give people a better quality of life. We can sell direct to consumer as a third-party controller, as we're doing with the United States Department of Defense, or we can sell component orbs to companies like Undersea ROV for them to develop for their users. We've come from proof of concept to prototypes to patents to paying customers, both locally and abroad, over the past 6 years. What we're really looking for in this next stage is to work on our US expansion as we continue to work with the US, look at commercial facilities, get out of the garage, and really look at expanding our team, because right now we're 2 people and we're really looking to bring on more people. We've come from a revenue of just $11,000 in 2020 ending June, the Australian financial year, up to 128,000 in 2021 and 236,000 in 2022. Michael and I are techie and hustler. We personally know the pain points of this dilemma and have the empathy, work, and data to prove it. We've been working on this for 6 years now and have really tested the technology with thousands of users and seen how it can be best implemented. I'm Annette McClelland. I'm from Tekuma, and we're improving the ways humans interact with technology. Thank you for your time.
Amazing. Thank you, Annette. I'd love to open the floor first to our judges or our panelists, if you will, to ask any clarifying questions that they have about your presentation or your product.
I'm interested in learning, how do people learn about your services?
Yeah, they can reach out on tekuma.tech. We've got a contact form there, or they can email me at annette@tekuma.tech.
Okay.
We've got plenty of YouTube videos up if that's something you like doing.
This is really cool, Annette. It sounds like there's a lot of scope for expanding into different markets. I was wondering, with the US defense, like, how did you guys acquire that, and how are you planning on expanding further into the US?
Yeah, we applied to an open solicitation with the Defence Innovation Unit as recommended by the Australian Trade and Investment Commission. We had previously done a program with them in the landing pad in San Francisco, and they had kept us in a loop about relevant things that might come up that we could apply for. And we applied. They helped us with our pitch and our plan for our proposal, and that helped us get through and score the contract.
That's
and we're really
cool.
we know that as we move from a R&D like development type contract to hopefully a servicing contract, that we need to get more people on the ground in the US. And we'll be heading there. Sorry?
That sounds really exciting.
Yeah,
so you mentioned you're heading here in October?
Yes, we're going to spend most of October, particularly for the AUSA conference in DC, on October 10th, and then we plan to spend some time going around to see where best we should set ourselves up in the country, because there's a lot of different places in the US.
Yeah, I feel that. That's exciting. Hit me up when you're here.
Thanks.
We have a question in the chat from Erica. When you mentioned bringing on 2 additional full-time roles, what roles would those be and why?
Yeah, we really want to bring on a sales and development person specific to the US, probably related to the defense industry. So someone on the ground that can participate in all the things, because we can't be everywhere at once as 2 people. As well as we'd likely be looking at some from a technical quality assurance person as we set up some manufacturing in the US as well. That would be the very first 2 people.
And how long have you had the agreement with the Defense Department?
We got the Defence Innovation Unit contract in July last year, so about a year ago.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to Susie. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you.
Susie, you ready to go? Awesome. You're on mute, by the way.
Have you got me now? You've got me. Thank you. I recall being oh, nothing's happening here. Techo. Here we go. I recall being in bed as a child with a blanket covering my face, so I couldn't hear. It was my dad, at it again, ranting and raving at his wife, my mum. When he was tired or drunk, horrible and disrespectful words would roll off his tongue. And Mum would often walk away in tears hoping that none of her 5 children saw, but I always did. The ironic part is that my dad had grown up in the same sort of household, and his dad threw the same anger and disrespect at his mum. So what he witnessed in his childhood instilled in him lifelong anger and resentment towards his father. But yet, that which he hated, he became. Growing up, things never changed. Still verbal abuse, when it suited, and never a sorry. I realised later in life that I held a lot of anger and resentment towards Dad, and it saddened me that Mum never stood up to him. So from a very young age, I believed men were in control, made all decisions, and we did what we were told. So no wonder later in life, I found myself drawing in controlling men, partners, bosses, friends, who I allowed to treat me with the same disrespect, as if it was their right. Because I grew up believing this, I allowed people to take advantage, and without realising, I was disempowering myself by digesting the abuse and not having a voice, just like Mum. I started to realise I wasn't alone. Others were coming up against roadblocks in their mind, stopping them from pursuing opportunities in business or life, procrastinating, instead feeling frustrated, angry, or unworthy, affecting life decisions for them, choices, behaviours and patterns, and not understanding why. Here's the thing. What happens in those early years of our lives shapes the rest. The beliefs, the stories which are cemented, which may not be your truths. Of course, you could hire a coach to fix yourself, have the to-do list to encourage you daily and the sticky notes around the place to pump you up every morning, which is all great, but it's surface level stuff. It's what lies beneath. As science shows us, we walk in our subconscious mind nearly 95% of our day. That's what's running our show. This type of program in the subconscious mind affects everyone, but I've been firsthand, in particular, how it holds women back. Those beliefs don't just come from parents, they come from society as well. That's the impact. That's why I'm so passionate about helping women who are often paralysed by fear and indecision, holding themselves back from their true aspirations and their abilities. Hence, I have built Let's Just Be Fabulous to shift those hidden beliefs based on NLP to bring self-awareness, realisation, and clarity to inspire others to take conscious steps to shift generational beliefs that can be life-changing. Within the program, I'm incorporating strategies that help me shift some of these stubborn patternings. Professionals that I've entrusted along the journey, who will offer options to discover and support further to the steps to retire the beliefs, so they no longer run your show. The primary market is women 35 to 55 years of age. She's independent and driven by her achievements in her career. She's in tune and she knows the new cafes and fashion, and busy, but not necessarily focusing on the depth of her true life purpose, albeit something is amiss. She knows what she likes and wants, but is not satisfied and feels the depth of unhappiness where the negatives sit and revisit often. The program will primarily be offered as online education over 5 weekly modules, with much focus on understanding what has been imprinted through the generations and playing out. And in the near future, live trainings. From there, my projection is to rework this program for teenagers who are struggling with generational patterns, and so are their parents. Then for the corporate entities and primary schools. And finally, I would hate to think I forgot the fabulous men in our society. But to be in the course, I want to ensure people are ready, so the discussions prior to entry will be direct. Questions such as these, which will make them realise commitment to the process is crucial. Reaching our clients through social media and keynote speaking, those who resonate with stories and experiences of their childhood will start to be consciously aware they need to uncover what is hidden as well. Now I invite you to ask yourself, is it time to rewrite and create new pathways for you? If you can see the power of this work and want to assist me to reach those who really need it most, I would welcome discussions and collaboration to work together to get this powerful work out there in the world and kick butt on the generational beliefs so others can ignite what is truly within them. I'm Susie Ford, and let's just be fabulous. With a COVID husky, sexy voice. Oh, dear. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. I'm trying to put my Zoom skills to use over here and move things back and forth. Okay, so thank you for that. I'll open it up to our panelists to ask any questions.
I can totally relate with the voice situation as well. I loved how passionate you were about this, Susie, and clearly it's something quite close to your heart. And I think as a founder, that's going to go a long way in terms of in the tough times and launching this business, you have something to always keep you going. I was wondering, is your background are you a psychologist yourself, or in order to create these modules, will you need to work with psychologists?
No, I've based a lot of it on positive psychology, NLP and CBT, but it's not my, it hasn't been the primary background of my work, no. This is something I've been studying for the last few years, but I've been very passionate about this for years. So it's not new to me. I've had a fierce passion towards people's behaviours and beliefs in themselves. Never looked at mine, but always others. As we do.
That's awesome. I'm sure you'll be able to find a lot of people to help you out along the way. I've got a couple of friends who are working on mental health startups themselves. So if you'd like me to connect them, I'd be more than happy to do that after this. So yeah, good luck with it all, Susie. Thank
you so much. It's very kind of you.
Yeah, I think what you offer is, something that affects everybody, at some point in their life that, they have hesitations, their fears to move forward. And so what's your thoughts or plans? How do you reach out so people open up and can share, the challenges that they're facing?
What's my thoughts of it? Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, that's the goal. I mean, the goal is to have people that are ready, consciously ready, so that they can start digging and really share that, and very safe places to do so, because there's a lot of trauma that's sitting within many, I've noticed, in our beautiful world. So definitely bringing that safeness there.
Susie, could you talk a little bit more about your revenue model, how you plan to monetize this, especially you mentioned like your initial path in terms of customers, and then which was B2C, and then I saw some like B2B options as well. So can you talk us through that a little bit?
Okay, so primarily the online education, and I would like to think that's live because I feel people would feel safer there and supported. Definitely want to move into live events sooner than later. So people do, again, intimacy with that, but the professionals will be there as well to help with their skill set, again, support network there. And definitely the next project would be taking it through to the teenagers. I feel there's a great need for that, especially, from what I've seen in the world out there and close by. There's definitely young people that need some assistance, and the parents aren't seeing that. So it's a big drive to be able to, that's going to be a very strong marketing push to be able to get to that market with the parents handing over the dollars to support that, because it's definitely needed.
Thank you. And sort of a follow-up question to that, on that thread, do you like sort of envision this as being something that is like more on the affordable end for folks who might be lower income, or Are your early adopters more of like a middle-class market? What do you think?
Look, it's the women, I don't want to close this off, so I want to keep it achievable for people. And there will be payment plans within there. I'm looking at under $500 for people to invest themselves in this program to start with. And eventually the goal is to have a foundation so that that supports people that cannot afford the professional assistance within it. So definitely long-term to bring back to society so that they know they can pull on something. I certainly don't want it to be unachievable financially, because it'll be too much of a concern for those who already are in a mental or physical state around monetaries.
Thank you. And I had one more question from the group, and then I'll turn it back to the panelists. Of all the personal development courses that someone can enroll in, what do you think is the competitive advantage of your product?
The competitive advantage here, I hate using that word, but I suppose it's one out there. Because I'm bringing in modalities or strategies, whichever word you would like to resonate with, that I've utilized over my life to help me clear some of these anger and resentment emotions that have been in there for a long time. That's where it's different. We're going to sort of one-shop us in a sense to have some support. So people, because not everything aligns with everybody, and what works for you won't work for somebody else. So my job is to lift the lid so people start to really see what is under there. And then through that process, they will be meeting up with professionals that will assist them. So it's very different to somebody going to one particular person, like rapid transformational therapy all alone. There's no backup. There's no realization of identity. We're taking people. I'm taking people right back to really look at the generations prior to them and see where these patterns have come from, and really put their hand up with honesty and say, right, I've got that, and I know I need to shift that. That's the biggest step here. I don't want people coming in unless they're going to be honest, no matter how much this costs, because it's so important. This is the crucial part. And then I think what's different is one of the key factors that I'm not aware of somebody that's really taking them back with such intensity. But again, I'm so passionate about it. I'm not particularly worried too much about what everybody else is doing. I'm so focused on bringing people in that I know can help, as well as what I've learned and been through as well.
Thank you. Any closing thoughts?
I'm really sexy voicing over here. Sorry.
So good.
I'm just curious before we move on, Susie, this sounds really, a much needed service, but when you look at what you've been through and what you want to offer, what do you feel are your strengths as you develop this program, and what are areas that you feel like you need a little more attention to?
Personally, to build the product, or personally?
Well, to build the product.
Yeah, to build the product, I need to have, look, the ideal for me would be have somebody that I can bounce the ideas off and create things together in the future. And certainly it's somebody that's far more IT savvy than I, but more to build this education. Really need that support. It's very difficult doing it on your own. You think you're on the right path with certain avenues within the build, but that hand on heart, I know that I need that support.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Alice.
Hi, everybody. I'll just share my screen to get us started. Everybody got that? Fantastic. So I'm Alice Todd. I'm the co-founder of Val AI. So our product, Greenhouse, is a sustainability rating tool and customer platform that provides homeowners, financiers, and insurance customers personalised insights towards a sustainable net zero future. So focusing on the importance of human-centred design, our novel product puts people at the heart of the global transition and challenges the finance sector to influence the next phase of our community's transformational change. Our team have unique skills in property valuation, sustainability, data science, and behavioural UX UI. As CE, I have worked in environmental psychology and behaviour change for good on many projects in Australia, focusing on carbon abatement, sustainability, and climate action. Now, the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosures reporting, it's being mandated to require the financial industry to report on individual residential property assets. 78%, excuse me, of homes, it's catching, 78% of homes within a bank's own portfolio in Australia alone, they were built before energy rating standards. And much of the data that banks have on these individual assets, it's grossly inaccurate. Property valuations, they don't include sustainability metrics, and real estate is bought and sold across the globe without knowing the actual energy scores of properties. Homeowners, they also don't receive guidance about why they should improve the sustainability of their property and what green finance products are they're eligible for to help them fund the transition. So our solution incorporates a simple user interface and a powerful AI ML rating engine that can predict the energy efficiency, sustainability, carbon footprint of a property. Our web app provides data insights unique to your property, which can be tracked and monitored over time. Our technology has been designed in line with the excuse me, National Housing Energy Efficiency Scheme, the New South Wales Building Sustainability Index, the Victorian Energy Efficiency Scorecard, and also global emissions greenhouse gas data. Most importantly, we've drawn on home efficiency processes that are active currently within the US, UK, and EU today. Both we've reviewed what does work, but also the friction points of what isn't working across industry to inform our product offering. Our freemium web app, Greenhouse, will be available for everyday retail consumers, providing key insights and recommendations for home improvement options, including access to third parties that can fund, insure, and deliver the home upgrades customized to your home's needs. Our product can also be white labeled to finance, energy, real estate, and insurance providers as a customer acquisition tool to support your approval processes or embed it in your existing customer loyalty programs as a part of your tech stack to deliver customized engagement with your value customers. Utilising the tool, we can predict richer data insights than what's currently delivered by others, including that on energy efficiency metrics, in addition to market value. So that provides a greater value when it's aggregated as a data to third-party customers. We've recently won the Global Open Finance Challenge, which has culminated in a proof of concept with the National Australia Bank. This includes major user testing that we've just completed that was delivered in tandem with AWS's Global Innovation Advisory team. Product development of the greenhouse tech, it's been supported by Firemark Accelerate Singapore and the Australian Institute for Machine Learning. All the IP is proprietary to Val AI. We have no exclusivity agreements active with any third parties. Greenhouse will motivate householders, assist the industry in determining green assets, educate the real estate sector, and also empower the valuation sector to deliver values that include energy and sustainability. Greenhouse has an ambition to essentially create digital twins. Looking forward, we want to be able to influence green home passports to the Australian market and also the integration of carbon tracking credit cards. Ultimately, we're seeking to deliver towards the tokenisation of energy reduction. Globally, no other tool provides both property, climate, and also home improvement metrics. Competitors include marketplaces that offer finance for home improvements, but none of them have an automated sustainability and energy efficiency rating tool. So we see them as potential customers. Greenhouse will divert energy costs, saving the customer base millions. We're talking about reducing emissions, freeing up cash flow for the householders through energy savings and helping reduce the risk of loan default. For us, we imagine our impact if scaled globally, even if it was only amongst a few tier 1 firms. As a result of COVID, an explosion in in-home renovations is expected. Over the next 5 years, it's forecast that $1.4 trillion will be spent globally on your own home improvements. So we see this as a tremendous opportunity to ensure that customers, when they seek a personal loan to improve their property, their finance sector can then guide them to ensure the improvements include ways that it de-risks the asset and makes the home more energy efficient. Within the valuation space alone in Australia, we seek to obtain a 15% market share. That means 15% of property valuers across Australia will be utilising our tool as a SaaS tool. We've got a long-term roadmap to build, test, deploy greenhouse technology in Australia first initially, but we also have engagement in the EU, UK and US to deploy in certain states and territories. We're concentrating right now on the finalisation of the iteration of the product post-user testing, and our go live for it to be in the Australian market is this quarter. We currently have been raising to build the product and bring on some important tech developers in-house to be able to complete our build. We have white labeled customers with letters of intent. So we ultimately have customers demanding the product now. It's a matter of us deploying it out in the real world for them to be able to utilise. The capital that we sought was $1 million Australian to finance an 18-month runway for Val AI. We've achieved over $700,000 worth of investment. In addition to that, we've had a paid proof of concept as well as sponsored AWS innovations to the value of $400,000 Australian. In addition to that, we've had negotiations with a key group globally who are looking to support an injection of $300K worth of capital from the finance sector to us this financial year under a venture partnership agreement, allowing us to keep them off the cap table and also allowing us to be able to keep more equity in the company for the co-founders moving forward. We do want to be true to our vision and ensure that all equity holders have climate action and gender equality as a focus of their business operations. So we have been very mindful with those that we bring on board to ensure they're adding value to our mission and our ultimate goals. You have the opportunity today through Greenhouse to drive the mum and dad consumers in our next phase of our global transition to net zero, ultimately delivering for people, for planet and for profit. We believe that Greenhouse is the tool that will help you achieve more. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That was awesome. Let's open it up to the panelists.
I am, I like to be supportive, but quite honestly, I'm not that familiar with the green market in Australia, but I think what you're doing sounds like a much needed. How are you informing prospective clients about your services?
Certainly. So we have tier 1 customers in terms of banks and insurance agencies here in Australia, as well as the UK and US, who are interested in using our product. The user testing has found that both a white labeled product, but also a web app that's free for customers to use is probably the most important way that we can aggregate a rich data set. So we are in negotiations with key brands to be channel partners for the free version that's available for retail consumers to be able to use. Our user testing has shown us very heavily that in order for people to take a web app such as this seriously and to build trust with using the tool, they need to see premium brands or those Colgate, Coca-Cola brands aligned. So we have some shared value partnerships with a bank, insurer, home improvement company, and then a EV vehicle company here in Australia that are those channel partners. So they'll act on the web app version as a group that will be able to receive referral fees from, but more importantly, what they're interested in the data play. So they're actually the ones that want to be able to access via API a large aggregated set of data once we've been able to collect it from the mainstream. And then some of them are looking to then integrate that into their own automated valuation models and also their own customer acquisition strategy.
Fantastic. Really?
Yeah. Same reaction. I'm still processing. I'm just like, whoa.
I had some questions about your raise. So who are some of your investors? Are they like more traditional institutional investors, angels, et cetera? And then also I'm curious about like your valuation and sort of like who set that.
Yeah, certainly. What a wild ride for a startup that bootstrapped for 18 months to start to raise. It's certainly, I've learned a lot over that time. It wasn't in my wheelhouse previous to starting the company. So our raise itself, we did start with a value earlier this year in January of $6 million. We looked to do it on a value because my co-founder is a valuer by trade. So it made sense that we didn't go to a safe note or another option. So what we did find though is as the market has shifted in the last 3 to 4 months, we found there was a real pushback from investors, both mature VC funds, but also those lead angels that we were already having conversations with, that they were really looking to de-risk any investments that they're going to make moving forward. So we actually, through the large VC firm who led the round, that's Artesian Capital, based out of Sydney, but they operate globally, that they were looking at the valuation very seriously. So a lot of additional DD went in than normally happens for a startup at our early seed stage. So what we actually did is we negotiated to reduce our value to 3 million. So that reduced or de-risked by 50% the proposition for the lead investor. And so that meant we were able to reach some good agreed terms. So what that did is it also allowed us to then go back to those. We've got one key lead investor who's an angel based out of Singapore. He's ex-Adelaide in the US, but he's made a commitment to only finance and invest in climate impact projects over the next 2 years to be able to assist with the decarbonisation of the economy. So yeah, Artesian and a lead individual who's happy to remain unnamed on the cap table has really tipped the bucket for us to be able to then go and work through some more traditional networks here in Australia. We did have some excellent conversations with NatWest in the UK, but also some key VC firms in the US. But the friction point for us at the end of a long road of DD with some large VC firms was that we simply weren't in market in the US yet. And that need for a monthly recurring revenue, we are pre-revenue, so that limited our capacity to bring them on this round. What we do have is a real mix of some minimum angels. So angels, we set the terms that it was a minimum investment of $50,000, which for Australian investors, we're quite risk averse and slow compared to other markets I'm finding with investments. So $50,000 really was a stretch. So it did mean that it limited the capacity. A lot of the networks we'd reached out to in Australia, they only tend to give check sizes up to $25,000. So it did mean that it reduced the amount of people coming onto the cap table, but it did mean that the key individuals, a couple of key individuals that have come on board have really been brought in because they have strategy behind them. So they have something other than money to give us. Mainly they've all been there and done that before with their own startups and company journeys, and they have specialist skills that they're offering to be able to support us to grow and fill the gaps that we know we have in our team in terms of advisory.
Thank you. And I don't know if we have some other, any additional questions from the panel. Not, well, in the interest of time, move on to the next.
Awesome. Lovely. Hello, my name is Reva, and I am founder of Life on Her Terms Media. We help women in business get visible, land media coverage, and become thought leaders in their industry. Now, our goal is to see more empowering stories of women in the media all over the world. Now, I have a question for each of you and for the men in the audience as well. How many of you have actually been featured in the media? Just raise your hand, just by a show of hands. Anyone? Yes? Oh, fantastic. Great. Chandell, wonderful. That's interesting. Did you know that in 20 years, the number of women in business has actually increased by 46%? In Australia alone, over 660,000 women own their own business. But you wouldn't know it by looking at the media today. Only 24% of news sources in mainstream media are women. And I think it's time we change that. As women, it's time to take back the power of the media and pitch ourselves with the same tenacity that our grandmothers before us fought for. So I want you to do an exercise with me, okay? I want you to, everyone, just close your eyes just for a second. I don't want you to put your hand on your heart. I don't want you to take a moment and say the name of your grandmother, the one you liked, who was really nice to you. The one who worked really hard and sacrificed so that you could sit where you are today. How would she use her voice today? What story would she tell? Today, we might have equal rights as women. How about equal media coverage? Because you can't wait for the media to call you. We can tell stories today. We can use social media to get the attention of producers and networks. We can connect with journalists who are just one tweet away. And as business owners, this presents an incredible opportunity to get visible, to land media coverage, to elevate our expertise and stand out from the very noisy crowd online and speak directly to the people we are called to serve. Our aim is to teach 1 million women how to pitch to the media by 2027. how to become their own publicist. We're starting with women in business, but we want to include schools, universities, career women, and businesses that are investing in their female employees. So instead of waiting for mainstream media to provide these opportunities, we've decided to change the game ourselves. So I created Publicize Yourself, a program to teach women in business how to land media coverage in 10 minutes a day. In Australia, the online education industry is estimated to bring in $8.4 billion this year alone. But this isn't just another course, it's a revolution. It teaches practical skills that will improve the bottom line of a business at a very accessible monthly subscription. You get to learn how to market yourself authentically, how to connect with influencers, and how to pitch to the media that matters for you and attract the right clients to your brand without spending $1 on advertising or expensive meet and greet events. How it works is it's a monthly digital description currently priced at $197 AUD, which is around $135 USD per month. You get weekly modules, templates, emails that have worked in the past, everything that you need. You have a private community, which is currently on Facebook, but we're looking at other platforms as well. You get a monthly live pitching call where you get your questions answered by a publicist and get your copy reviewed. Everything you need to take action and have big visibility wins for your business. These are just some of the recent media wins from some of our clients, some of the places they've been featured in: Channel 9, the Daily Mail in the UK, some mom blogs. You've also got Thrive Global. So it's really depending on the industry some of these clients are in, like Debbie, who's an occupational therapist. She is now the mental health expert for Channel 9 and talks about children's issues, particularly mental health issues during the pandemic that the media now calls her. Helen, who's an agency owner, has been featured in Thrive Global and also her local newspaper, which has helped her attract new clients. A Sydney-based interior designer who's been featured in the Daily Mail Online and also Domain, which is an incredible partnership for her. We have a local non-for-profit that focuses on domestic violence. They've been featured on ABC News nationally, and it's elevated their brand and obviously the type of funding they can get. And we've had a mom coach who was just starting out, and she's been featured in Global Motherhood publications, which has helped launch her coaching business. These are just some of the messages we receive regularly. Women pitching themselves, going for media shoots, visibility wins, as we call them. And what's amazing about this program is it supports and encourages other women. When you see one woman getting visible, you go, I can do that too, which is always really inspiring. And these are things that are done right before they, start their workday. It doesn't have to take a ridiculous amount of time to get visible. So what are the results of media coverage? Well, from the earned media spots they've already had, they'd be worth over $100,000 in advertising. Clients are discovering them online through media mentions. Increased SEO, Google becomes your best friend because your website is automatically ranked higher. Premium rates, all students have increased their price of working one-to-one as a result of going through the program. Brand partnerships have been secured, grant funding has been secured, and premium sponsorships have been attracted. So what does this result in? Well, more confidence for the people going through our program, more credibility as other people see you, and obviously paying clients. And this is all through pitching, visibility, and earned media placement. How do we differ from other programs? Well, other programs and agencies and publicists, they offer publicity services that will drop you after a contract. They will sell you courses without follow-up or direct support. They take hours to complete on top of the very busy workload most business people have. And they require significant investment without the promise of a result. Well, this is different because it can be done in 10 minutes a day. We offer a monthly subscription. You can cancel at any time. And you do receive one-to-one live coaching from an experienced publicist, copywriter, and business strategist. So you can have that pitch done before your first 9 a.m. meeting. And as well as a course, we've created a community of women who are supporting and encouraging each other to get visible. They are heart-minded and mission-driven women who believe that when another woman gets visible, it opens the doors for all of us. And we're standing on the shoulders of the women who came before us. So today, we're opening up the doors to women in business and inviting them to get visible, to tell their stories, to link arms with other women, to use their voice and change the media narrative across the world. My ask today is a conversation with a business who would like to invest in their female employees or up-training their marketing or communication staff. If you want to be part of the media revolution and see more empowering stories of women in the media every day that can inspire a younger generation, then join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, let's open the floor to the panelists.
Rachel, you have much to offer, not just for
Oh.
women, but I think men could use your services too.
Thank you, Leonard.
What experience did you have that led you to address this need?
Sure. So I do have a background in PR myself. I've worked as a publicist for ABC TV in Sydney, BBC News in London, and I did healthcare communication. So I did everything from like promotional publicity to crisis comms management. And when I decided to start coaching, I actually started in career coaching, but people kept coming to me, and it was women, and they kept asking me the same questions. How do I get publicity? How do I land media coverage? And look, I love working with men, but they don't seem to have the same barriers that women do when it comes to really getting visible. With men, I could sit there for an hour and I go, just do this, pitch here and do that. And they go, great. And they would do it. Whereas women, I would give them the same exact advice. And I found there was always this huge hesitation, or they wouldn't do it. And so, and in a way, it's almost making life harder for myself, but the need is definitely there because I found they need follow-up, they need coaching, they need to see other women doing it. And at first I thought, oh, I can offer this to both men and women, but for some, and I don't mean it, it's more an experience thing. I think women need to see other women getting visible, and that will encourage them to do it. And that's why I decided to make this a women's program specifically. But the program as an application itself isn't gender-based. It could absolutely be sold, be used for, men as well.
Good. And it's for women in Australia.
It's for women. It's for women globally. I'm starting with Australia because that's currently where I live. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do this program, and I've had clients from all over the world use this program. We've had the UK, Australia, Canada, and the US. And I think one of the biggest differences, most of the programs that you see nowadays, they're usually US based. There's one based in Australia and one in the UK, and they really focus on those outlets in those countries. This one doesn't. I make a real stand because I've lived in 3 different countries. I know how important the media is in any location. So we really want to drive global media coverage, not just focused on one nationality.
I have a somewhat similar background, and so I can see what you're trying to do, and I appreciate it. So if I can be helpful, let me know.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your feedback.
Sure. I'm just also kind of aware of the time.
Just want to say I love the energy you bring, Rachel, and like the enthusiasm. It's very exciting to see. I was just wondering, like, when you say like the, I guess, media, initially I was thinking more in the lines of like social media, but you're going for traditional media sources. So do you see yourself expanding into other outlets?
Absolutely. Yeah, great question. And actually, I talk about media, but really, I feel like I've become a visibility coach because social media is just as powerful as media. I use them almost interchangeably now because I've seen Netflix producers scrolling Instagram and finding their new program, So it's I do teach that to my clients as well. But I think the reason I use media mainly is because it attracts that more premium rate and it attracts that kind of interest. So we focus on both, but I'd say 80% of the program is focused on traditional media, but I actually also have modules in there that are just focused on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, getting to TikTok, those type of platforms, because I've attracted clients just from those platforms myself.
Very cool. It's exciting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you so much.
All right, last but certainly not least, Eddie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eddie Blass. I'm the founder and CEO of the Inventorium. The Inventorium started because of problems really that are facing young people and their disengagement from school. And problems facing schools now are the post-COVID classroom is a teacher's nightmare. You've got disengaged learners, there's a greater range of mixed ability as cultural capital played a greater role during lockdowns. You've got increased fear levels of kids going to school, and teachers really are surviving, not achieving. So we offer a systemic change for those kids for whom the traditional mainstream offering is not working. We offer another option. Our starting question in 2016 was, if you were to design an education system for the 21st century, what would you design? And we started by looking at the research, and our unique value proposition puts this research into practice. So the key reasons for kids dropping out, disengaging from school were firstly that they don't see the relevance in the curriculum for their future. So our response is to focus on building employability, self-employability, and life-related issues, the skills to deal with those in the curriculum. The second reason is students either can't keep up or they get bored. The pace of learning is wrong for them in the classroom. So we do negotiated self-paced learning with every student. And the third thing is that students don't relate to the multiple teachers they get in high school compared to the primary school, junior school experience. A lot of kids can fall through the gap because if they're not either a problem child or a super bright child, the teacher can kind of like not notice them. And if that happens in every subject that they're learning, then they just fall through a gap. So we have a single teacher per student, and literally the teacher teaches everything, which is a huge paradigm shift in the way that teaching occurs in high school. Plus, we have found from COVID results and all the lockdowns, some children actually learned better at home and some children were happier at home. So our development timeline, we asked the question in 2016, and 2017 was really research and design thinking. And we did our first iteration, which we got feedback on. Iteration 2 mapped to qualifications and had a new user design. Our first pilot year was 2019 with Open Access College, and we only took 10 students. And we did this because these are young people's future lives. And while we were pretty sure it was going to work, if we were wrong, we were screwing up young people's futures. So we started with 10 kids who were not going to school anyway. So they were not going to get a school education if they didn't do what we were doing anyway. So we couldn't possibly make their situation worse than it was. In 2020, we started to pilot with other schools. We launched a full flexible learning offering in 2021. This year, we've developed a registered training organisation, which will allow us to make the offering national in Australia. And in 2023, we're planning to go international. So this is a bit of the user experience the kids get. This does not look like your school system, okay? And every child can do courses. So this is some of the courses that are available. So you can see this again doesn't look like, so money is maths. We haven't called it maths, but we teach maths through financial literacy. We've got stuff on being an entrepreneur, looking at their career and where they're going to go. What happened there then is about reflective practice and learn how to reflect. Investigative insights is research. So you can see that we've brought the curriculum to life in a way that deals with the students' issues and problems rather than them learning about subjects in isolation. Everything is integrated. And then the way that the system works is that you can literally allow the kids to pick which bits they want to do, and that becomes their pathway, and or you can have set pathways. So there is more than one curriculum within this. The South Australian Certificate of Education, there's about 5 times the curriculum that any one student would need to do in the whole platform. So our results to date, in 2019 and 2020, we had 100% retention with kids who refused to go to school. And that was years 10 to 12. In 2020, we developed the 7 to 9 and we're selling it to homeschoolers while writing the curriculum. In 2021, we've grown to over 100 students and our retention completion rate, we're down to 95%, but we're sustaining it at that. And to be honest, I can usually predict the 5% who are going to stay with us, but you know, I don't like to say no to anyone who really wants to, even when I feel that you know, it may not be right for them. We're a B Corp accredited company and we're social trader certified as a social enterprise. We achieved profitability within 3 years of our operations from launching in 2019. And we have 3 revenue streams: schools, homeschoolers, and government contracts. So where to next? So we found a lot of the homeschool mums were telling us how much they were learning from the curriculum and doing it with their kids. So we launched an adult program for women returning to work. And we've got 3 years of government funding for this, and it's going a bomb. The women absolutely love it. So we're looking at how we extend that adult program beyond just that contract. We're also developing international markets through partnerships. So we've got a pilot running with India Accelerator in India. It's a schools program on entrepreneurship. We're working with Inventorium Africa to put a pilot together for Kenya, and then obviously now looking at the USA. So the business bits. There is a fixed cost of the platform hosting, maintenance, business management, insurance, but all teaching is a variable cost. So there are multiple ways in which this can be costed to come to market. And our unfair advantage is we actually don't compete with anyone. We work in partnership with everyone. So we work in partnership with homeschooling organizations. We work in partnership with schools. And this is our biggest market actually in South Australia, is schools send us kids who won't attend their school, but they stay registered at the school. So we actually solve the problem for the school of the kids who should be there, the truants, the school refusers, and equally the ones that they have excluded from the classroom for behavioural issues, etc. They stay enrolled with the school, but we provide the education to them at home. So it becomes a kind of three-way partnership that works for everyone. In the US, the homeschool market was $1 billion in 2017, and it's estimated that it will be 4% of the market. So if you can imagine that you could offer the homeschooled package through schools and tie in that 24 billion in government funding that's currently not being spent, what you could achieve for those kids who aren't going to school. So after the lockdowns with COVID, 40% kids are 40% more likely to homeschool. And this is because parents found that kids learned more at home, they were happier, and they were more motivated to study when they managed their time. So my ask is that I want to establish the Inventorium in America, either as a joint venture, as a range of partnerships, or as affiliates. And I want a business partner to run the US operations. I'm aware of what's involved in actually setting up and running a business. I don't want to do it all myself. I want a partner in America to do this with me. This can be a national partner, or we can go state by state. I'm prepared to be the minority shareholder, depending on the level of involvement or commitment in the JV. That's the arrangement I have with India. And I'm happy to consider the homeschooling market separate to the school market if there's more than one person who wants to pick up the opportunity in a different way. The most common thing anybody says to me when they see the Inventorium or join us with their kid is, why didn't I know about you earlier? What we do is unique. I want to share this in the USA, but I'm not going to do it alone. Thank you very much for listening. Does anybody have any questions?
That was awesome. My husband actually works as a teacher, and he's always telling me how student engagement is just plummeting now. A lot of kids aren't even showing up half the time to school, and he's like, we're going to homeschool our own kids in the future, because he barely believes in the system anymore because of the lack of relatability for students nowadays between the curriculum and real life. So I think what you're doing is super cool, and I can see that there's a lot of potential there. So I guess right now you mentioned you're trying to set up an RTO. So is it just in product testing stage, or you haven't started selling?
We've applied to the regulator, so the submission is in, but with the regulation in Australia to offer vocational education. So in Australia, every state has its own education system. I discovered when I went on this journey, but there is a national vocational system. So I'm setting up to offer the vocational option as well, which allows me then to offer the same thing nationally.
Very cool.
So the application's in the regulator. It's not been approved yet. It's a very long process.
Oh yeah, my dad runs an RTO, so I can understand. So I was wondering, in terms of your marketing, are you planning on partnering with homeschooling organizations, or how are you going to get this out there to people?
We find very much everything goes word of mouth, and we market now generally to schools. So when we've got the RTO up, we'll be marketing directly to schools to let them know it's a new option. But with the homeschooling networks, we have partnerships with various networks, but everything goes word of mouth. It's the weirdest market I've ever encountered. Doesn't matter how much I spend on advertising. Makes no difference whatsoever. I just keep a base advert running in social media for awareness. But everyone who comes to us, when we check out where they come from, it's gone word of mouth.
It's very cool. I guess it's quite a tight-knit community when it comes to homeschooling and sharing resources. Yeah, it's very
But
exciting.
even
Can't
the
wait to see
schools,
this.
we'll get another school because one head teacher told another head teacher about it. And then they'll say, why didn't I hear about you earlier? And I think, well, the Department of Education told you about it. The School Principals Association told you about it. I don't know what, when you're just like, I don't actually know what more I can do to get the message out there other than go to Rachel, which I'm going to do, and get my PR sorted and get into the press and the media more.
Very cool, very exciting.
Sounds like a great collaboration. Eddie, it sounds fantastic. I personally have been involved in a number of education, workforce development activities for the past 20 years with high school and college age students. And I've just heard from a number of people, especially during the past 2+ years with the pandemic, how homeschooling has just kind of taken off, but also it's caused a lot of stress within families. And some of the students, they're missing in the development of their social skills. So how are you addressing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because the cohort we have in Australia are pretty much school refusers. So the social skill development in school was not happening for them anyway. They were either being bullied or isolated, or they just didn't like the school experience. So what we do is we try and get everybody work experience, we try and get everybody volunteering, we get them out into social environments that are not school-based. So they actually develop more adult conversations and adult type engagements and socializing, rather than almost like the false friendship process that happens in a lot of schools, so that they're actually more articulate and confident when they get to the workplace. And we let them know that it's okay not to have 100 friends at school. It's fine to actually have a community that you engage with outside of school. So we look very much at, interest groups like sports clubs, drama clubs, that type of thing, as well as volunteering work and paid work. And then we use that as the basis for a lot of the curriculum they submit for their high school qualification.
I was wondering, it's a big issue over here, huge issue.
But also, so a research project that I'm interested in at the moment is looking at how we can use gaming products within the curriculum, because a lot of the games are actually incredibly well designed and involve the kids in collaboration and negotiation, but it's all online. And there's a danger that we as adults, because we didn't experience that when we grew up, we don't appreciate the social skills the kids are developing in this way. But it's almost like the old pen friends, when we used, you may not remember, when we used to write letters to people overseas and had a pen pal. Because what a lot of the kids are doing is they're actually creating social groups that they're doing a lot of work with and a lot of development who are international. So I've got a kid in the Northern Territory who's best buddies with a girl in Alaska, which is also pretty remote. And they've spent a lot of time socializing, developing stories, being creative, designing solutions to things, and comparing how things work between the two climates, because the Northern Territory is incredibly hot and Alaska is incredibly cold. And as a learning experience, that's great. And they met on Minecraft.
True.
Well, thank you so much, Eddie. Just in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and wrap up and shift over to our entrepreneurs. Australia, y'all killed it. Great job. Really excited to just hear you all's pitches and even just see the shift that has occurred from the first session until today. And I hope you all see that shift in yourselves and in your colleagues. And I will be in touch with some next steps for this group.